Found myself in an old box of records. No one wanted them there to be discovered by a lonely kid who didn't know what music was. Everything changes.
I could never do that. I have heard that so many times from so many people when talking about writing songs. I'm here to tell you the same thing that I've told countless people. If you want to write a song, you can write a song. How can it be that easy? Well, I didn't say it was easy necessarily, but it is absolutely an attainable goal for anyone. Then what's the catch? Well, creative expression is available to anyone with even a little imagination. If there's a tree that you look at every day because it makes you feel good and you want to express that goodness through a painting, all you need is a paintbrush, some paint, and something on which to apply said paint. The catch is this: if you want that painting to be photorealistic, you have thousands of hours of practice ahead of you. Do you need thousands of hours to write your first song? No. But it might be a little messy at first, and that's okay. Embrace the mess. The more we do something, the better we get. Therefore, the best way to learn how to write songs is to start writing songs. All right, so where do I start? Well, there's no right way to write a song. I'm going to share some components that are common in a lot of songs, like chords and lyrics, melodies, rhythm. But a song doesn't have to be all of those things. Maybe you don't have any interest at all in writing words. Or maybe that's all you want to do. The person writing poetry in her bedroom who wants to sing her songs can team up with the person who has learned to play every Metallica song and now wants to try learning to write their own music. I started writing music when I was about 14 years old. I had a 12-string acoustic guitar because that's what my mom had. And my cousin gave me an old electric guitar. I was slowly learning songs from bands like Bush, Nirvana, Simon and Garfunkel, but it was slow going. So I started making things up because it was easier than trying to figure out what those bands were doing. I did keep learning those other songs, but I was hooked on making stuff up. 22 years later, I am still making stuff up. The blank page. How can something so empty carry so much pressure? We want to start by spilling some ink. Let's start with words. You can come back to this video later and pause to brainstorm and work through the exercise with me. It took me longer than this video to do all of the exercises, brainstorming lyrics, playing with chords, and all that stuff. And you shouldn't feel like you have to have a song written by the end of this 30 minutes or so. Lyrics can come out of the blue, and sometimes they require a little coaxing. Start by picking a subject for your song. It can be anything. Some songs can be very abstract, and that's fine. But for this exercise, I'm going to choose my cat. I'll start by brainstorming things about my cat. She's a short hair. She's got stripes. They're black and gray. She has a pink nose. She has a very high-pitched meow, hence her name, Squeak. She loves food and attention. She loves to snuggle and loves to play with string. She doesn't like the broom when we sweep. She doesn't like it when we sing very loud. It's okay if we sing quietly, but, the ears go back. So when I'm sketching out ideas like this, not everything I write down has to go into the song. It just gets me thinking about my subject, helping me figure out an angle on the song. As I keep looking at her, I start to think, I'm going to write a song about how much I love my cat. It's a feeling I have and I know very well. I've brainstormed a couple of things, so I have some words and phrases to draw from. But what if people think a song about how much I love my cat is weird? Well, first of all, write whatever you want and let people think you're weird. We're all weird. But maybe that can be the game. To write a song about the love for my cat but hide the fact that it's about my cat. Maybe I'll write about my interactions with her as though she was a person. So I'll do some more brainstorming in that direction. She likes spending time with me. We don't always see eye to eye. Her little voice is calling, but dinner isn't ready. Maybe she scratches me, and I know she doesn't mean it, but she doesn't seem to care. And how does that make me feel? So now I have all these little fragments, and a story starts to unfold as I just write down bits and pieces of everyday life. Maybe there's conflict. We don't always see eye to eye. I like that as a lyric and as a jumping off point to tell a story. A disagreement. My cat wants food now, but it's not dinner time yet. So she gets mad. Her little voice is calling, but I'm busy with something else. She tries to get my attention the way that cats do, and maybe jumps on my lap and starts kneading my leg and scratches me in the process. I say, ow, and she runs away, startled. So there's the disagreement. It's a misunderstanding. But come dinner time, she comes back around, and now she's happy and maybe joins me on the couch and snuggles up while we watch TV. So I've pieced together this little narrative. I have a story to tell, and I can tell it either in explicit detail, or I can be vague and poetic, or anything in between. We'll come back to the lyrics, though, because next we need some music. Songs don't have to be complicated, lyrically or musically. Songs don't even have to be complicated to be good. The traditional tune Frere Jacques is a one-chord song. So is Aretha Franklin's Chain of Fools. If you're new to an instrument, don't let a limited musical vocabulary stop you from writing. As you keep growing as a musician, you'll be able to tell new stories, but that doesn't mean your early work is worth less. I'll start by setting up a palette to work with. In Western music, a song is usually based in a key, a group of specific notes based on a scale. There are a lot of reasons to choose one key over another, the vocal range of a singer, for instance. Let's use the key of C for this example. I'm writing my song on a ukulele. The key of C fits really nicely on a ukulele. If you're playing the piano, this is also a really great key to start off in. It's pretty accessible. The key of C uses the C major scale. All of our chords and melodies can be built from these 7 notes. Let's build a chord out of each note in the C scale. Already we have a lot to work with, but sometimes choices make things a little more difficult, so let's narrow it down even more. The first chord, the 1, in our scale is called the root. We might travel away, but there's always a pull to return home. The 4th chord, 4, is our subdominant. That's our travel, our movement, going out on an adventure, building tension. The 5th chord is tension begging to be released. It's the climax, and it's really pointing us toward home. These 3 chords, the 1, 4, and 5, are the most important chords in a key. Thousands of songs are based off of these 3 chords, and it's an excellent place to start writing your own songs. When we write music, we divide our notes into boxes called measures, separated by bars. Each measure has the same number of beats inside. That makes it easier to keep track of everything. In what we call common time, each measure contains 4 beats. Let's arrange the chords into a pattern called a progression. It's common in Western music to write progressions in groups of 4, so let's stick with that for now. I'll make a 4-measure progression out of the 3 chords I've chosen. I have 4 measures, each with 1 chord inside. You can arrange these chords any way you want. You could squeeze more than 1 chord into each measure. Whatever sounds and feels good to you is great. The idea is that we will repeat this pattern, creating a bed of music for our song. What if I don't like the way my progression sounds, well, I'll change it. Maybe the chords are changing too fast. Maybe we need to add another 4 measures to make the progression sound right. And don't be afraid to change things as you go. If you find when you start bringing the lyrics in, it's just not quite fitting, adjust your progression, or vice versa. The C, F, and G chords are major chords. We typically interpret major chords as happy, though that's not always the case. But if you're looking for something a little darker, look no further than the minor scale. So here we have the A minor scale. If you rearrange the order of notes in the C scale, starting from A, you get the A minor scale. All the chords are the same, but now in a different order. Now our 1, 4, and 5 are minor chords. In my song about my cat, I might want to use a minor sound to represent the conflict and a major sound to represent resolution. Maybe I'll start in A minor and transition to C by the end. It might look something like this. Now, when I'm writing a song, I'm usually not thinking about all this theory stuff while I'm creating. I have a chord list, relationships, common progressions, and so forth in my mind. It's okay if you need a physical list when you're starting out. And I'll just start playing on my instrument of choice. I'll keep playing, maybe humming along with some of the lyrical ideas that I'd brainstormed before as I explore, until I land on something that feels right. It's not until after something really starts to take shape that I analyze what I came up with. It's okay to mess around playing chords or whatever comes to you, even if you don't know music theory. Some successful composers don't know how to read music, and their lack of training means they might combine things in unusual ways, and that can be what makes it so special. So don't be afraid to just experiment, playing or singing, and see what you come up with. Record yourself. When the creative engine is roaring, you could blast through a bunch of good ideas, forgetting all but the 16th idea. If you record yourself, I use an app on my smartphone, or if you can take really good notes while you're playing, you can return to those previous ideas, either combining them or saving them for later. Sometimes accidents turn into really good songs. Now that I've got some chord ideas and some lyrical ideas, I have to figure out how they fit together. You may have to finesse your lyrics a bit when setting them to music. I'm going to sit with these chords, strum and explore on my ukulele, and try singing some fragments from my earlier brainstorming session until something feels right.
I know she likes spending time with me. We don't always see eye to eye. Her little voice is calling out, and I hate to hear her cry. But supper isn't ready, and it won't be for a while.
So I've got the line, supper's almost ready, as we come to the end of this trial, and it's too wordy, it doesn't quite fit the rhythm, so I'm going to see what I can do to trim a little bit or reword things, and see if I can make that work a little bit better. Alright, so I changed it to supper's almost ready as we reach this trial's end. Originally I had wanted to rhyme trial, but I wasn't finding a way to make that fit. So now I'm going to, now I've got the line ending with the word end. So I've got to work on a rhyme.
Supper's almost ready as we reach this trial's end. Crunchies in the bowl mark the return of my friend. She catches me off guard with a smile.
As I try things out, I might start rewording things and make note of where I might be changing chords. Writing a song can be a lot of trial and error, and a lot of letting go of ideas that aren't working, even when you really like them, in order to make the song work as a whole. In this song, I chose to rhyme my lyrics, but that's certainly not a requirement. Let's take a look at the musical structure that I landed on. I came up with a few distinct patterns that became my verse and my chorus, which I repeat with different lyrics. This might be more or less complex than the patterns that you come up with, but remember, it's not the complexity of a song that makes it good. I know she likes spending time with me, but we don't always see eye to eye. Her little voice is calling out, and I hate to hear her cry. But supper isn't ready, and it won't be for a while. I wish that she could understand, but understanding ain't her style. She catches me off guard with a smile. A Cheshire warning I should have seen for miles. When someone fails to heed, someone's bound to bleed. Voices raise and she runs away, but I didn't mean to frighten. A little space and time applied can help a heart to lighten. Supper's almost ready as we reach this trial's end. Crunchies in the bowl will mark the return of my friend. She catches me off guard with a smile. A Cheshire grin to punctuate her style. When someone needs a hug, she's always down to snug. Let's look at a couple ways that we can spice things up once we have our basic structure. There are a couple of things my melody is doing that can be enhanced if I adjust some of the chords a little. The first is to turn my G chord into a G7. The dominant chord, G in the case of the key of C, already wants to return to C. A dominant seventh chord, G7, really wants to go home. The tension is ramped up and really wants to resolve back to C. In my melody, I happen to sing an F note on the word cry, again tying into that G7 idea. And yet I didn't return to C. I went to A minor instead, but A minor is very closely related to C. If we look at the notes in C and A minor, there's only one note difference between the two chords. This is a relative minor. The sixth chord of a major scale is the relative minor of the root. This close relationship means we can substitute one of those chords for another. And in this case, I wanted to keep the drama going. I still resolve that G7, but the resolution isn't quite as satisfying. Again, this is serving to keep the drama of our story going. The next chord I want to alter is the next G chord. Here I'm singing a C note on the word style. I can incorporate that into my chord progression by playing a G sus, also known as a G sus4. A suspended chord replaces the third, that's the middle note in our triad, with a different note. The sus4 replaces it with the fourth note away from G. Similarly, the sus2 would replace the B note with an A note. The suspended chord also supplies some tension and some directionality. There is one more chord alteration I'm inclined to make. In a minor key, we still have our 1, 4, and 5 chords, but they're all minor. It is very common to change the 5 chord from a minor to a dominant 7th. To make an E7, we have to pull a note from a different scale. Anytime we borrow a note from a different key, it's called an accidental. Why do this? Well, the E minor chord points back to the A minor, but its directionality isn't nearly as strong as its major counterpart. G points to C. Dominant 7th chords are all about directionality. That E7 points to A minor just as strongly as E7 points to A in the key of A major. Let's see where that E7 comes from by taking a look at the A major scale. While the E7 does a great job at pointing to the A minor, it also brings a different sound. It's up to you as the songwriter to decide which sound works best for the story that you're trying to tell. Now, this is not the only way to write a song. Once I came up with the phrase,
"You're better than a cyborg unicorn with rainbow laser eyes,"
and it took me about a year before it ended up being part of a song. Sometimes I write all the music first, and then I write the lyrics to that later on. This was the case with my song called One of a Kind. I had written the music, and I was rehearsing it with my band for months before I came up with the right lyrics to go with the song. Other times, I start off with all the words and have to come up with music to go with it. More often than not, it's a combination of methods that yield a finished song. Practice writing by picking a subject, like I picked my cat. A prompt can be very helpful, be it a phrase, a picture, a movie. Listen to and analyze the songs you love. Figure out what patterns or subjects show up in your favorite songs. And try to incorporate that vocabulary into your own writing. Remember to be kind to yourself, enjoy the learning process, and just keep writing.
I'm reconnecting with the things I really want. It doesn't get easier, but it doesn't feel like work. And so much for all that's done, and all I never did. 'Cause something is bound to come if I commit and try again. I think I can, because I kind of remember all the parts between the lonely spaces and the